On this week's episode of the RAG podcast, I was joined by Liz Connor. Liz is the founder of Logjec Recruitment Limited, which is a specialist niche recruitment agency that focuses on the iTrent HR and payroll system and technical resources around that. It's a really, really super niche business. She only works with candidates that operate within one area around one piece of technology. Now, the reason I decided to talk to Liz and interview her today for the show was well, niche recruitment is one area that she's known for, and I think would add a lot of value to people. But what I found interesting was, and is incredible about Liz, is that she started her agency out of a tragedy. So Liz lost her brother and her father in the same year. And that was back in sort of 2015, 2016. And from the tragedy, the pain of losing two people in the same year that were so close, she then was able to fuel that into starting her own business. It kick-started her to take action and do what she wanted to do. And having listened to Liz for the last hour, I mean, I don't even know if I've got the words to describe how much respect I've got for her, the way she's gone about what she's done, what she's dealt with. I don't think many of us will ever have to deal with in our lifetime, and to do it in a way that is so positive and find, the glass half full mindset is incredible. And she's, she deserves all the success. She's also recently started a very small business on the side called Liz Connor, which is a niche recruitment business coaching focused organization. So if you're a recruiter who wants to start an agency and you want to learn how she's done it in such a tight niche, you can. So maybe by listening to this, she appeals to you as well. But a really, really genuine person, someone who's been through all sorts and has managed to build a really good life for her and her family, and is super down to earth. I think you're gonna absolutely love this episode. So without further ado, Liz, welcome to the RAG podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking the time out. Liz, as always, I've done you an intro there. I've tried my best to let my listeners know who you are and what you do, but it always comes out better from you. So, yeah, can you just give us a brief introduction of who you are right now and what you're up to?
Sure. Well, my name's Liz, and I am the founder and director of Logjec Recruitment. We are a really niche, super niche specialist recruitment organisation, and sort of in the last few months, largely down to the pandemic, I've also ventured into business coaching. So surrounding the business itself, the recruitment business itself, is really all about showing other people that are a little bit like me or like I was, that they can go on and do the same and operate pretty much replicate what I have done, but in their own space. So it's really all about being super, super niche and owning it, and sort of massive associating yourself with that. So I've just started the coaching probably about a year sooner than I anticipated, but it just really felt like the right time to do it.
Yeah, I think COVID accelerated things for a lot of us, including myself.
Massively.
All right, yeah. Well, look, let's get into all that. So let's go back. From the experience you've got, I've looked into. When did you start in the industry? How did you get into recruitment originally?
Yeah, so I've got a bit of a varied background in terms of career. Spent a number of years in hospitality, restaurant management, events management, and had two young children at the time. It was around 2011, 2012, and just felt like I needed a change and I needed a way to better myself, really, and financially was my main driver. And so I started to look into recruitment. I'd done a bit of recruitment, obviously, in the capacity within hospitality, but nowhere near the same as agency style. But so I just started approaching local organisations, and I actually got recruited in an IT specialist agency, and they were my introduction to the world of recruitment, really. And I, to this day, I value the support and the experience that I gained from that. But I always found, like, even all the whole time I was there, I always found I was kind of going against the grain in
Really?
so many ways. So,
Like what? Give
but
us an example.
well, I used to be really, really poor at like some of the systems. It was really alien to me, all the systems and process. I was all about people. And so I put massive emphasis on the candidate and the conversations and the relationship building. And I was probably weaker at some of the other KPIs, like, tracking like emails or tracking data and data gathering and all that kind of stuff.
Basically recording everything in the CRM.
So I kind of overcompensated, I suppose, but just used what I knew I had and really got to know the candidates and really invested a lot of my time in the candidates within my niche. And I quickly realised that was an inroad for me to make an impact.
What niche were you recruiting from back then?
It was what my business is stemmed from now. So it's surrounding a HR and payroll system, which is called iTrent.
Right.
And it's a massive part that I'm a big believer in the benefits of a dual desk as well. So it's consultancy and perm.
Right.
So I love that.
So you specifically recruit techies that work only on that system, iTrent?
Yeah. So
wow, that is neat. That is super niche, isn't it?
Yeah, it really, really is. So you kind of really get to know the big players in your space, and I really love that. I love the fact that I've recruited and placed the same people over and over again, and I really like that I can market them freely. I don't have to sort of check back at their CV, and I love that sort of approach. So that really getting to know them and actually working with them in their career journey, as opposed to. I can't stand sort of the transactional style and the numbers sort of game. So I suppose that's how I suppose went against the grain a little bit.
But that was based on the fact the agency you joined had that vision for their team.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So that was a bit of luck there, really, because a lot of agencies don't have that kind of. Where I went in London when I joined, we were not as niche as a tech product, but we were. I only did contract. I only did like business analyst, project managers, really like. IT and business change, we called it, into the Lloyd's of London insurance market. So it was like niche sector, niche roles, and it's contract, not perm. So it was basically, I used to look at it like a ring of people in the city that I could just play musical chairs with all day. And very rarely very rarely did anyone break into that from other sectors. Like if you don't, I don't know, I'm like, how do you ever get into it? Because if you weren't born in Lloyd's of London, you didn't get in. It was almost like you'd look at a CV and know straight away, nah, you're not getting into this role. So what are the different variations of candidates then in that world? Is there lots of different types of candidates in different job titles all surrounding that system?
Yeah, so there's an element of scope. Yeah, so we've got the consultancy side, which is the contract aspect, which is mainly surrounding implementation projects. Yeah, there is a bit of manoeuvre outside of that, but that's the main. And then also there's the permanent side as well, which there's sort of 4 to 6 skill sets, and there's an element of crossover between them, and that is it. So I don't deviate from that. That's that. I sort of set my stall out, and that's all I cover, and I've knocked back lots of business to sort of stay true to that.
But that is a really difficult thing, though, isn't it? To say no to a job. I remember I think one of my bosses, although they created the niche vibe, they found it still difficult because they would try and throw something at me that one of their mates gave them a random job in a random sector, and I'd be like, I don't want it. And they'd be like, what do you mean?
I can't do it. I don't know what I'm doing.
It's not even that I can't do it. I don't want to do it. Like the time it'll take me to figure it out. I could have filled 2 jobs in this world.
Exactly.
All right. So I get that. So how did you perform in those early days, 2012 to 2014?
Yeah, I mean, I don't get me wrong. I did have a few wobbles in that first year.
Everyone does.
Yeah, not going to lie. But I really did. I stuck at it, and I had some really good influences as well, and they embraced me a little bit, really, because they recognised that I was actually, I actually worked what I did, although I might have frustrated them in some ways. We had a good relationship, and I was there just over 2 years, and in the end, it was doing really well. But the tipping point for me, it was a bit more personal. So, as I mentioned, I had 2 young children at the time, and it was a stress. And my husband worked long hours; he's a chef, so at the time, so it was a real stress and a juggle. And then it was when my dad said to me, you know, he basically sort of said, well, you've passed the test now, like you've shown that you can operate, you know, in business, and demonstrated that, you know, I was earning good money at the time. And so all of a sudden he sort of took a second look at me and thought, well, why don't you come into the business? So
what was your dad's business?
Financial services, so independent financial advisor, a small business. But I mean, he had a massive career in the corporate world, and then went on his own, but the business was doing really well, really.
Yeah, IFAs do really well. I mean, if they get a nice big book, they can
absolutely
live on. It's just exponential growth, isn't it? It's great money. So you went from very niche recruiter. You said that it got busy and life got to. So why was that a pull? Was he like, you'll be way more flexible, like work where you want?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we could see my parents. You know, I'm a husband. We could see that I was obviously, you know, your targets, they only go one way, and I was sort of, no, not to say struggling, but it was stressful, and I didn't have the time with the family that I really wanted. So, and he saw that and thought, well, you know, you could earn the same, if not more, and then work, and then it'd be a sort of a plan. And obviously that was the entire, you know, that was the exciting thing, that it was the opportunity to sort of take over from him as he retired was the long-term plan.
What happened next? You were there for 3.5 years?
Yeah. So while I was there, so everything was fine, and obviously it takes some time to go through all the exams, and obviously I worked alongside that, and everything was fine, and I had much more flexibility, which was great. And unfortunately, tragedy struck. So I lost my twin brother initially. He passed away in a motorcycle accident. He was living in Texas at the time, so just near San Antonio. He'd made a life for himself, big traveller.
Yeah.
Made a life for himself there.
Wow.
And obviously, so a huge shock to us all.
You just got a call one day.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Just answered the door to a police officer one day.
Yeah, but I mean, for the news to travel across the world like that, I mean, you don't even think that could happen, do you? You don't even think.
No, you know, he was 32 at the time, fit, healthy, had everything going for him, and yeah, just in an instant, you know, he's lost at the end of the day. He's lost his life, so it was tough.
I bet. Did he have a family over there, or?
No, he had a relationship, but he'd not actually had. It was something I think he wanted, but no, he'd not had children, and in some ways, that would have been hard too. So
yeah. So that's the first blow.
Yeah, he was a you know, just like a best friend, really. Really you'd expect, and just a free spirit, a real traveller, an adventurer.
Yeah.
And a bit of a risk taker, if I'm being honest. And then so, you know, that shook us all as a family.
I can imagine.
And then less than 12 months later, my dad, they were both avid bikers, so you know, both loved the motorbikes. It was, you know, a real passion. And he then sadly died in another tragic accident in the lakes.
The same thing happened again?
The same.
Oh my God. Wow.
In the same circumstances. Yeah. So, and I was actually on holiday at the time. So obviously this was spanning across towards the end of 2015 and then into August 2016.
Oh my God. So what was the gap? What was the time between your brother and your father, the accidents? How long was that period?
10 months.
Yeah. And your dad must have been struggling a lot.
Really? Yeah.
But did he never think about not getting on the bike? Did that not go through his head, or?
I think so. You know, it's very difficult because on the face of it, you think, how the hell can you get a bit angry and think, how the hell can you do that when you know what's happened? But it's just a big part of them, and I believe that we do. You know, we all take some risk in life, whether it's what we choose. You know, we all make choices. So whether it's the choice to, you know, to smoke, to drink, or whatever your choices are, or we all, there's elements of risk in everything we do, and it was just a big part of them. And in lots of other areas they were like super, cautious, and it's so you can't, unfortunately. I've found a way not. I don't really get angry about that, and I respect that was just a big part of them.
Yeah, but how did you then? Like, what happened next? Like, when you get news like that, what happened next?
Yeah, so really, it's it's quite difficult to describe.
I bet.
And I'm a pretty positive person, and I'm not over dramatic, but it was just horrendous, and it just really rocks you to the core. But what, and obviously the initial shock and the just taking that in is really tough. And the realization that just 1 minute they're there and then they're gone. There's no, I'm not trying to sort of say that any way is good, or any way to deal with this sort of thing is better in any way. But when they're there and then they're gone, there's no warning, there's no goodbye.
There's no ability to at least get your head around it first.
No, not at all. So it basically makes you just look in within yourself, and you look at everything. So for me, as a family, like me and my husband, we had two boys at the time, and we'd toyed with having a third child, like, for a few years, and then all of a sudden it was like, right, okay, well, what do we want? And so then Georgia was born, and she's our third child. So Georgia never met them, of course, but so there's something positive for me to focus on. And then, as I said, I didn't really feel like I wanted to go back to the business that my dad had built, that business. For me, I felt like I needed to move forward.
What did did someone come in and close that down or take over it?
It was a partnership,
right,
so right. It's a partnership. So and it's still going now. And so my dad's business partner, he's continued with the business and brought actually my brother-in-law in.
Right.
So he's working in the business now. So there's still some connection, but just at the time, I just didn't. It was too raw, and I was also on maternity leave as well. So
how did you manage like everyday things like tasks and stuff? Like, I've had some tough times, nowhere near what you've been through, and I know people that have also had some really difficult things. And sometimes just the most basic tasks are really hard, like getting out of bed, or like just being able to communicate how you feel to people, like especially your kids who are asking, like, they just want stuff, right? They're just kids are kids. How did you get through those times when you got a lot of responsibility? You can't just lie in bed all day. You're a mother, right?
No, absolutely. And I think that was a big part of me pulling myself together, really, is that it wasn't just about me. I had to be there for them. So I think I thought, well, they've lost, not me, ultimately. So I don't know, I took some sort of strength in that, to think, well, I don't want to be the victim, because I'm not the victim.
It's easy to be that, though, isn't it? It's easy to fall into that.
I appreciate it. And so don't get me wrong, some days I was all over the place, I would say, for a year, but in some respects. But on the whole, I thought, well, I'm still here, So I suppose, what can I do to kind of, and they would be so angry if I'd kind of like just
it all in,
or they would have been just, I don't know, just kind of, what are you doing that for? You need to go on and do what you can do.
A quick interruption of the episode to bring to you a message from our sponsor, which is Odro. Odro, as most of you probably know, is the world's most powerful all-in-one video interview platform for recruiters. Used by thousands of recruiters worldwide and with some of the industry's biggest names amongst its client base, Odro is a video interview platform. It was developed specifically to help agencies increase their revenues. the most innovative solution on the market. Odro's software helps recruiters to engage more talent, reduce time to hire, and most importantly, it helps you win business. You'll even get the ROI back from investing in Odro within just 45 days. It's designed to benefit everyone in the process. So from recruiters to clients to candidates, Odro's platform is improving the hiring process one interview at a time. We chose to partner with Odro because we felt like both brands, Hoxo and Odro, were in such a clear alignment in the way that we approach everything we do and how passionate we are about helping this industry grow. If you want to find out more about how Odro can help your agency transform its process and win more business, win exclusivity and drive revenue, then click the link on the podcast notes and every social post that goes out, and you will get a call back by one of the Odro guys. They are awesome, and I'm sure they'll be able to offer some amazing value to your business. Thanks for listening. Let's get back to the show.
So when did you decide on going back into the world you knew and actually launching a business? Like not only did you not only did you
child and then
I mean all these things, I'm like, what, Superwoman? Like, you're dealing with the worst case scenario. You've had to just knock another kid out, and then you're gonna I'll just be a business owner. Like, what the hell happened? Sorry to smile, but I think it's brilliant. Like, how did you do it?
Yeah, when you hear it back, it's like, what? So I launched the business when I'd made the decision I didn't want to go back to my dad's firm. So I launched the business when Georgia was 4 months old.
As you do.
So that was pretty hard too. So, and I launched it like part-time, and obviously I made the decision to sort of surround the business and the niche around where I'd already had some experience, so that I wasn't completely in the dark and starting from ground zero. But obviously I'd been out of it for a few years, but I did have some, that knowledge base there, which I think obviously really helped me. And it was a massive coping strategy for me in terms of just being busy. So obviously I had a 4-month-old, I had 2 kids, and then Lee, my husband, and then the new business. And to be honest, it's that's pulled me through, just having that focus. And so I think when you're going through stuff like that, you can really get lost in it, and it can really take over. Whereas I was like, I need to find something that helps me kind of have something to take over that. And also, absolutely. And because you can, otherwise I think you can just end up, it can consume you. And
it's just a loop. You can get into a negative self loop. Needs to be broken somehow, right? So tell us the story then. So Logjec, I mean, again, the spelling, I always get confused with spelling, but Logjec, how did you tell us the story of the name? Because that's always got some history to it.
So the name is derived from my family name. So the L is for Lee, who's my husband, my rock, really.
Mm-hmm.
The O is Oliver, our eldest son, and then it's G for Georgia, and then J for Joseph, and then E is Elizabeth, which is my Sunday name, and then C is Connor, which is our surname. And then the center of the brand, so the logo, the center is obviously it's G and J, which is Georgia and Joseph, but it's combined and sort of it kind of looks one, and that's the names of my dad and my brother, which is Graham and James.
Right, that's amazing.
So it's great.
And how did you even come up with that? Did you just?
I don't know. I'm not even.
There's so much history. So it is logic. It is very logical. It's very it's very sentimental. What was life like? Take us back to June 2017 when because I remember that period of time, because I'd only just had Hoxo for 3 months, right? So it was a weird. I mean, I wasn't in anywhere near the same position as you, but I was launching a business I'd never done before. So you were at least going back to something you knew. I was leveraging other people's experience and believing in an idea and a vision that, everyone told me was nonsense, that you weren't going to be able to do it. And I was like, well, I think I can. But I remember that summer being so high and so low. Like there was days where
because you were going to do recruitment, and then you were like, no, I got a minute. There's a gap in the
yeah,
market here. There's
yeah,
something
yeah.
here, didn't
Well,
you?
I was my own customer, right? I was the recruitment owner that was, or aspiring owner that was frustrated by the fact that, there was only really pick up the phone before every day, just phone people. Is that all I've got to get older people? I was like, surely there's got to be better ways. I had a non-compete clause in my contract that when I read it, I was like, fuck, I'm screwed here. So I was like, and then when I was watching YouTube videos and Instagram videos, I was thinking, there's nothing in my contract that says I can't produce content that people can watch. I was like, so they could watch me tell the story or tell my story or talk about candidates. They could watch me do anything, but no one's thought this through on the old legal side. And that was the loop. And then, long story short, I ended up getting more excited about the fact that I could impact the whole industry like you're kind of doing now. I was like, there's got to be more people like me. Yeah. And that was where my idea came from. So, but I remember that period of time. It was a nice summer, but it was highs and lows, and we were in this shit Regis Business Lounge, with excitement, but also fear. What was what was like? Paint the picture of what life was like in June 2017.
Yeah, so I started part-time, and I was fortunate that I managed to get a small bit of office space, like borrow a bit of office space from a family member who's an accountant, which worked very well.
Yeah.
So that was really good just as a starting point. And I was only doing like 3 days a week, but not full days, doing stuff at home, but concentrated time. So obviously I, just delved in really. But the main thing that I learned is the value of, if you're new to business, the value of having a good accountant that you can just ask all your questions. I mean, you don't have to become an accountant to be a business owner. You don't have to swamp your mind with and think, well, I have to learn all the ins and outs of corporation tax and all the other stuff. And it's like, no, you don't have to do that. So the first thing I would say is, from my experience, that was so valuable. Mm-hmm. Just having that support and just like from scratch. And then there's so many organizations now out there that are geared to small recruitment startups.
Yeah.
That it's a bit of a minefield, to be honest, but the point being, there's so many services that you can tap into, and that to allow you to operate in your zone of genius, really. So don't try and take it all on, is the other thing I quickly learned. And I suppose I'm quite good at knowing what I'm good at and what I'm not. So I was like, what can I try and farm out as soon as I could, and then what do I need to really spend my time on, and don't sort of get too lost in all the bells and whistles until you've like got yourself going and actually some money in the bank, and all that can come, all that exciting fun stuff can come when you've just got a bit established. And that's how I went about it, really. And
so you're in this like corner of an accountant's office, just picking up the phone to everyone you used to know, because luckily you'd have definitely burnt your covenant period in that 3.5 years. So there's no non-compete there.
Yeah, and they were supportive actually of me, which was nice. That was that was a nice thing. So and I hate cold calling. I hate too many phone calls. I hate that whole connotation I get with the recruiter and bashing the phone. That's really not me.
No.
And I'm quite, I suppose, a little bit shy as well sometimes with people I don't know. So sort of really kind of honing in on my niche and understanding it gave me an awful lot of confidence, which I felt I would be lacking if I tried to spread myself too thin. And so it was like almost a byproduct really of just really niching down on something. It made me so much more confident and more comfortable to approach the client, to get myself out there, to market myself on LinkedIn. I started doing videos. I just went for it because I was like, I'm pretty all or nothing. But I found a way.
Niching down allows you to, I mean, you will always have a period of outreach at the beginning more so than ever, but you can never just completely circumvent the fact you've got to. I was cold calling in first year at Hoxo and direct messaging everyone I could, and seeing who I knew, who knew people. But as soon as you establish that niche and you stick to that niche, it starts to turn quite quick. And then you don't have to make loads of cold, as long as you provide a good service.
Yeah, to be honest, and that was the magic of it. And that's why I'm so like passionate about now going, you need, honest to God, it works, because it was like a compound effect really, that, you know, by being so niche, it's like, oh God, that's what she does, but she knows I do that, and getting sort of known for that, and the word of mouth was really, really good. And I think that's kind of, I don't know, a slightly lost form of, and that was a big form of my sort of business growth and development, just by becoming known for delivering on this, in this small space.
How can you remember what year one was like performance wise?
Yeah, I didn't do anything great. I think it was around sort of between 90 and 95.
But you think about it, 95 grand on your own, working in an accountant's office. I mean, people work years to get a 6-figure salary in the city, and I'm not doing great. I just earned 95 grand in my first year.
No, it was great, because I was quite. No, I'm proud of it, of course, but
really good.
We've had year-on-year growth, and still not, you know, not where I want to be just yet, but you know, it was amazing, because I had quite a few debts and things, and I was almost like, Dad, I've done it, I've paid off my debts. So it was, you know, I was kind of driven by that, I suppose, by trying to prove to them. Well,
do you feel like this business is they are a part of the business in a way?
Yeah, it's weird, but yeah, I guess. And I'm not particularly spiritual or a religious person either, but it was, you know, there's no doubt that that's where the drive has come from.
A final interruption to today's episode to introduce Vincere. Vincere is the all-in-one CRM ATS platform built for the recruitment and staffing industry. Now, I first heard about these guys about a year ago. The amount of prospect recruitment agencies and clients I was working with that were telling me they were moving over to Vincere, I had to look into it. And what I found was a business that had a global reach with multiple offices around the world. So they've got this follow the sun methodology, which allows them to support recruitment businesses wherever you are and be in your time zone. But the technology that they've invested in is becoming a disruptor in the space. More and more recruitment businesses are doing this to give their recruiters a competitive advantage. They broke into the G2 Crowd's momentum grid as a market leader based on their reviews from their customers. So the agencies that are using this platform are raving about it. Now, if you're a RAG listener and you're thinking about changing CRM, or you're a new business looking to launch with a new CRM, then I would get in touch with these guys, because if you mention that you're a RAG listener, they're doing an amazing deal. By visiting www.vincere.io/RAG, you can get an exclusive deal which offers 2 months completely free on a 2-year commitment, or 3 months completely free on a 3-year commitment. This applies to all licenses that you've either signed up for now or that you'll add in the duration of the contract. So get on there and have a look. Finally, if you're listening and you're a recruiter and you're thinking, I want to move into a more of a business development role, and I'd like to keep hold of my recruitment knowledge. Well, these guys are recruiting for a BD person, multiple roles in both Sydney and London right now. So if you've got a strong recruitment background, you want to move into BD and you want to work for a fast moving tech business that's helping people like you right now, then get in touch via their website, because they're hiring today. Back to the show. It's amazing what things, you know, you've been able to take probably one of the worst negatives you could ever take and turn it into a positive and turn it into something that you can grow with. And I think it's incredible. I think not many people can do that, can turn something so bad into a force that they can then develop and grow from in the future. But it's one thing I love about this industry. I just think, you know, the amount of people I meet, the more owners I deal with, the more recruiters I talk to at all levels, you know, the common theme of those that do well is usually they've got a driver. They've got something that's pushing them. They want to make something that they never had, or they want to be somewhere they've never been, or, you know, it's a very, I love the industry for that reason. It's full of people trying to make stuff happen. And so, all right, if I look back at that first year, then it sounds like you've done well. You're getting out of debt. You built nearly 100 grand. But what did you get wrong? Like some of the advice that you might give out to people now, looking at your first year, what would you look back and if you could do it again, you would change?
I think I would spend less time getting too hung up on, oh, does this email seem right, or rewriting things, and being a little bit over the top with like detail, and the first few months of being a bit too, it's really natural, I think, to be a bit proud because, oh, it's my business, hang on a minute, I don't know if I like that, and what about this colour, and I don't know, just getting a little bit hung up on some of the detail, and realize, and having to learn the lesson that it doesn't matter, it's what your substance and what you can deliver, and your service that is of value.
You know what though? I also do think that I live by a motto that done's better than perfect, right? Like I even look at the tattoo of my company on my wrist, and there's like gaps in the ink and stuff, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm just that kind of person. But some people are perfectionists, and they, from the way they iron their clothes 60 times before they leave the house, or there's certain people have that in them, in their DNA, and others don't. And I think that is one of the challenges when I don't know how you find it when you're advising other people, is that we all have a slightly different lens that we look at things, and we all have different standards. So your first website, your first your logo, a lot of these things won't actually make or lose you much money. Like, they won't, but the way it makes you feel might make or lose you a lot of money. So, if you don't feel like it's of your standard, and it drops your mood, and then you don't perform, and it can actually lose you money that way. So it's, I guess, yeah, but you sound more like me, that you probably got a bit over the top with it in first year and realized it's not, for you personally, it's probably not that, it didn't make that much difference.
No, it absolutely didn't. And I'd say probably the other thing is just, you are enough. Like, I was like, do I need to look like the organization's bigger? How can I make us look like we've got a big, I suppose, something more than we are? And I was like, well, no, it's okay. It's just me. But that's okay. Don't be frightened of that. I used to get a little bit hung up on that.
Yeah.
As well.
What's life like? Like, go through an average day for you when you're recruiting with the kids. What does a day in your life look like?
Yeah, well, it's pretty hectic. So obviously I'll have school drops most of the time, then childminder as well. And then when I sort of start the day, I usually don't schedule calls until about 9:30, because I just need that morning time to juggle everything else, to be honest. But then, I'm usually just straight into it. So now I have a system where I use VAs, and I also have some staff now as well to support me so that my time is spent more effectively. So I've learned that that's been really valuable for me, because my skills of maintaining the database and being systematic are much to be desired. So I've sort of got some help with that, so that I have like a calendar, so I have calls booked in at certain times. And that's what I enjoy, and that's what I'm good at. So speaking to candidates, my business is really, really candidate led, and it's really like the ins and outs, and I'll know my candidates really well. I pride myself on that. And another big part of what I do as well, I do a big piece on like interview prep. So I do quite a bit of coaching around that, and that's something that I feel that sort of sets us apart as a business. So we usually do, like, it's a 45 minute to an hour session all around interview prep, and obviously it's tailored completely, and you have to appreciate where somebody might need support. It might be surrounding their skills, or it might be more of a confidence and a mindset, and they might not have interviewed for 3-4 years. It might be a big career jump and a progression for them. So I would do a lot around that, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah, you've genuinely adding value to people, and regardless, even if they don't get the job, they're going to still they'll have looked back on the experience with you and thought, well, that's above and beyond what a lot of agencies do.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably one of the biggest things that we seem to do very thoroughly. Yeah. And
how do you manage the madness of recruitment is nuts sometimes when you're scheduling stuff. Think people cancel on you, interviews get rearranged. The drill. when you're a mother and you've got to then, you know, sort food out, or, you know, your husband's working late or whatever. How are you managing all that? Because that, to me, that just sounds like, when you're not even at an agency where you could be like, you know what, at least it's someone else's actual business.
Yeah.
It's on you. So what's your strategy around that?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a recruit, we can all think on our feet, don't we? I think that's, you know, that's a skill that you acquire, or you've either got it. And I suppose that might have come from my background as well, you know, in hospitality, and you've got to think on your feet. Things change all the time. And for me, I suppose I've just been able to, you know, you just got to go with it. And I'm kind of like, now, what's the worst that can happen? Well, that's happened to me, so this is fine. Everything, I kind of like water off a duck's back a little bit. So in terms of just juggling things, and yeah, I do get pretty stressed out sometimes, but
so do you always have that? Do you always have the tragedy to ground you now and be like, nothing can really get that bad? Is that the kind of mindset you've got, that, you know, when you've been through that?
I think I've lost the ability to like have that. Yeah, I think that's what made me set the business up. I've lost the ability to be frightened of failure, and that's like a big barrier. I like, you know, if I fail, I don't really care. Like, of course I do, but I just, yeah, I don't know. I suppose a little bit flippant around that.
Well, it isn't life or death, is it? That's the truth.
Exactly.
It really isn't. And I mean,
it's perspective for me. It's like, this isn't a real problem. Seriously,
no.
You know, give it to me. Like, we can get through this bit.
Well, yeah, I was out at the weekend for one of my mate's birthdays, and one of his friends I didn't even know is he works as a nurse on the cardiology department in a central London hospital, and we were just chatting over a drink, and he was like, you know, I was like, how do you cope with that? Because I was like, surely, I think if I worked on a ward which was full of people with like 20-year-old girls with heart defects that just dropped dead and all these different things that are happening, I'd take that home every day. I think it's just my nature. But he said it's just, you know, it allows him to have a life where he doesn't take anything for granted. Like, he's just, again, he's a bit like you. He flipped it into,
amazing, yeah.
He flips it into this feeling like where, you know, he was the life and soul of the night out. That's why I got chatting to him. I didn't know him, and he's like, I'm like that because I try and enjoy every moment that I have, because I know how short this shit is. I know how quick it can turn. And, you know, he was telling me about a lady who was in her early 20s, had done 3 marathons and then had a heart defect and died within like 10 minutes. And you're like, she was perfectly healthy on paper. Like, there was no reason. And there was no even underlying, it just happens sometimes. These things happen. I was like, so he's like, why sit there and worry about things? Like, why get stressed about a business or a job when, you know, it's there to fuel your life, your purpose, not be the only thing in your life, I think.
Yeah, and I think you're right. You're absolutely right. And you just don't know, do you? So I think when something happens, and everybody can surely draw upon their own, you know, everyone's got their own stuff, you know, their own, and you can, you know, you've got to try and find a way to think, well, yeah, we can work through this. It's not life or death, like you say. And I think
it can feel so stressful. It can feel so overwhelming. You can have client demands, candidate demands, employee demands, finance demands. Like, there's days I've been laying in bed in the morning and just gone like, fuck it, I don't want to deal with this today. And you know, and I never had that as an employee. I've had days as an owner where I'm just like, fucking, I can't even get out of this for like, and I'm looking at the diary thinking, I haven't got time to go to the toilet today. I've got that many minutes. And you're like, but at the same time, yeah, it's just remembering that it isn't life or death. It's important, but there's other things that are more important. So that leads me on. So you then, you know, you've spent 3 years building this business. It sounds like you've got it to a point where it's giving you what you want from the industry. And what's made you launch the second? I know you said lockdown brought it forward, but tell us a bit more. Tell us a bit more about it and why you've decided to do it.
Yeah, so it's a niche recruitment business coach is basically what it's all about, and I'm just really passionate. I suppose it lights me up a little bit to think that I could show other people that they could do it. So I'm thinking, you know, the people that are we keep thinking about it. They're not sure when the right time is. They're not sure exactly how to go about it. And I feel like I've really got a strategy that I could impart that really lends well to somebody new into business. And it's not quite so overwhelming when you get someone to help you map out your niche, and you do all the analysis around that, and I sort of show them that and break down all these barriers. And it's basically a 6-month program to really get other people on the feet, and just like I did, but in their own space. And we cover some of the practicalities around setting up as well, what you need to be mindful of, what you need to make sure you've got in place to be trading, and just all those like really scary stuff that
would you look at people that are already in flight? If someone was a year or two into their business and not really moving it forward, would you still talk to them, or do they have to be new?
Yeah, that absolutely. As long as they are, for me, it's got to be an organisation that's willing to really embrace the niche and have that as a key strategy. And I'm really again like stuck on that, so I know who I can help, and I know where my strategies or what I've used to build my business will help and work with somebody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. You could sort of not find yourself a bit lost and not really have much of an identity, because you've gone a bit too general, for example. So yeah, that would absolutely be relevant as well. But the program has been written and been sort of designed for that startup in mind.
Yeah. So there's so many people who are who've either been on furlough or haven't been on furlough and have worked throughout this whole pandemic that might be thinking, now is the time. Like, what is there to lose? I've got, the opportunity working for the business I work for isn't necessarily what I want. Lockdowns taught me that I quite like being on my own. I quite like the freedom that it's given me. What happens next? So if they reach out to you, what would they expect to happen?
Yeah, so basically it's a one-to-one program. So I've allocated a certain amount of my time now to be able to move on to the coaching, but while still running Logjec Recruitment and working in that. I can't let go of that just yet.
I think you've added like extra hours to your day or something, because the amount of things you keep throwing in where you're like, is this woman human? What's going on? But you've just thrown more in.
Yeah, so I have allocated time to it, but I'm just dead excited, and I really love speaking to people that are thinking about it and breaking down the barriers. And it's a lot like objection handling, really. And I'm really like, no, we can get around that. What about this? And they're all, and a lot of it's mindset, a lot of it's fear of, moving away from security, and all sort of, just confusion around what's entailed in business, but I just want to really break down all those barriers for people and show them that if I can do it in the face of where the hell I was when I started my business, then you can do it as well. And I'd like to think that over the time I've kind of honed in on some really good ways of
all right, so let's we've got a few minutes left. Let's give me some free advice then, right? Let's give the audience a taste if they're listening and they like it. So a couple of things you'd give them, you always would advise. So you mentioned before, don't sweat over overthink certain things, like don't overwrite copy or emails, just like don't worry about the little things as much. Is there anything else that you would advise anyone who's in that boat? They might not reach out to you, but would welcome some advice.
I would
generic.
definitely advise you figure out where your clients or candidates are and get involved. So whether it's in like groups or whether you're sending them like videos, and you get I found it really valuable to like get in people's heads and like get them to know me, and in my space, so I become known without actually having to speak to anyone. That's been really powerful. Or get involved in industry specific events and groups, and being like a part of a community within your space has been a really good way for us to kind of establish our identity and what value we can offer them, all the people in there. And just coming at it slightly differently to your competitor, really, that might be covering X, Y, and Z markets as well as yours. And candidates have really warmed to, oh, hang on a minute, this person only they only recruit my skills. They only do what I do. They get it, and they understand this job, and they know what I do, and they can sell me, and they can market me really well. So that, getting to that stage is.
I look
really
at it
big.
like, you go to the doctor, you got a problem with your eye, they send you to an eye specialist. There's kind of like,
yeah.
The GP sends you elsewhere, bang, 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 bang. And I think most industries in business, you want people that live and breathe one area. Like, it doesn't mean, some people say that doesn't breed innovation. It doesn't breed much new ideas. And I understand that, but I still see the benefit in a specialist. I still see the benefit in someone like I used to pride myself in recruitment on, I could get the job filled in my head faster than you could go out.
Yeah.
Like, I just knew, like, you told me 3 things. I'd be like, right, yeah, I could show you on my mobile. I've got 4 people I spoke to last month that could probably do this and will do this, and they're the right money. And I used to wow
That's valuable.
Yeah, my memory was my asset that my clients loved. And where other recruiters rely on, I've just got to go and do a bullhorn search. I was like, I beat you now. I've already figured it out. And that worked for me. But I don't think you can do that unless you go the same repetition all the time. If you're picking up a job, well, I spoke to an agency back in the day, 3 years ago, when I started Hoxo, and their strategy was get a job on, stick a job ad up, get loads of response, phone the response, submit CVs, try and do the deal. And if they didn't do the deal, they would go straight back to the other job boards, chase leads, get a job on, do it again. So I was like, what happened to all that candidate record data? And they were like, what do you mean? I was like, well, where is it? Like, in our CRM, I was like, did you do anything with it? They were like, no. I was like, so the best way I could explain it, I said, so you're all in the house. You're a family of 5. They're like, yeah. And they're like, what is this guy going on about? But I was like, I said, so you all get hungry. They're like, yeah. So you go to Tesco and you buy a week's worth of food. Right? You go and get a whole fucking week's shop. You buy it £100. You come home, you make one meal. Next morning, someone gets hungry again, and you go straight back to Tesco and buy another week's worth of food. I was like, that's what you're doing. And then the food in the fridge goes off, and it's just, you're spending more than you need. There's no recycling of anything. And I think it resonated with them based on no one had ever explained to them what they were doing. And these were guys these were running a business.
And all the effort and the time, but the massive investment of time that it takes to build a reputation, and to get a relationship with a particular client, for example, so that you don't. And that's a massive believer. You don't need thousands and thousands of clients. You don't. You just need a number of clients, especially in that first year, that you've done a good job, and then they'll just come straight back to you because you've delivered and you're memorable because in your space. And you don't need, I mean, obviously repeat business, how great is repeat business? I mean, all the time that it saves in regards to all the other stuff that you've got to deal with, supplier information, your terms of business, all that kind of stuff, just understanding how the business works, how they go through their interview process, what they're about. Like, you have that knowledge, it's already there, you just tap straight back into it. So from a business point of view, getting to the point where you can have repeat business is massive. Whereas if you just go, like, as you were saying, that it's so transactional, it's just hit miss all over the shop, isn't it? And very scattergun.
It's what people think our industry is, and it's why we've got a bad name, and there is a lot doing it. But I don't think the people listening to this, I don't think, are in that camp. I think, we're the rag's all about that progressive owner, the people that are thinking for the future and wanting to just add loads of value to their customers. Liz, thank you so much for taking the time. You've helped me today. You've made me feel like, perspective. You've put my problems right now into perspective as well for me. So I think what you've done is incredible. I think there's not many people in our industry that will have been through what you've been through and made such a success yourself. And I really hope people do reach out as a result of this and find out more. Is the best place to get you on LinkedIn drop you a direct message? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm always on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's my space, really. So you could message me on there. And yeah, I'd be more than happy, even if I can just help you out. I'd want to offer you a bit of advice. I'd love to help.
Well, yeah, Liz finds hours in the day that none of us have, so she'll be able to work it out. I wish I had more hours in my day. But Liz, thank you so much. And hopefully, let's get you back on again in the future and find out how it's all progressed.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I was a bit nervous, but it's been really lovely. Thanks.
Glad you enjoyed it. Guys, thank you so much for listening. As always, you're the reason I do this. Every one of you that are listening, I've had loads of messages in the last week about the episode we did with Joe Sweeney, all about burnout. I think if you're listening to this right now in August 2020, we're in a really difficult space with what's gone on with lockdown. We're business owners. We're all running hard. Remember to take a break. Remember that, if you're listening to this episode or the previous episodes and you're hearing about all these stories of success, they don't happen as a result of working every minute of every day. You've got to give yourself some time. So I'm going to keep saying it. I really want you to look after yourselves, because I think that you'll end up looking after your business better. But as always, I don't ask you for you to spend any money with me to listen to this show, but I ask for you to share it. So if you've listened to Liz's story and you think there's someone out there that would benefit from not necessarily working with Liz, but at least hearing what she's got to say, please do put that out there, because I believe the more we get the industry listening, the stronger we're going to be together. I'll be back again next Wednesday with another story from another human at the helm of a recruitment business. In the meantime, you stay safe, and I'll see you soon.